My name is Jamie Pence, owner of Videobred in Louisville, Kentucky. We've been around since 1978. There's our founders. We started off by documenting thoroughbreds for breeding purposes, hence the name Videobred. I started editing at the age of 16 on this bad boy, so I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot in 30 plus years in this industry. Done everything from national commercials, network sports, everything in between. You name a network, we've done work for them. And it shows you, it really doesn't matter where you're from, or even if you're located in Louisville, Kentucky. If you work hard, if you can tell a great story, great content, you will be in demand and your work will be seen around the world. I love immersive content. I love it. And that has been my specialty for the last 10 years. Editing some of the largest museum films, the largest, most immersive museum films throughout the country. Started off by editing single screen films, then as the technology and my skill set grew, so did the immersiveness of these films. Here's a film that I edited for the New York Historical Society. It's a 70-foot widescreen, 7,000 pixels wide, 3 different projection surfaces. We actually have interactive panels that come down, and there's images projected on those. Another film that I edited for the Flint Hills Discovery Center. It's a 180-degree curved projection surface. The theater has environmental effects. It actually snows in the theater to give more of an immersive feeling. And here's a film I finished editing late 2015, and being a Kentucky boy, I take a lot of pride in this film. This is a film for the Kentucky Derby Museum. It's a 360-degree strip film, 23,000 pixels wide, over 30 million pixels in total. And these are just some of the immersive films I've done in the last 10 years. Immersive films for the United States Capitol Visitor Center in DC, the William Jefferson Clinton Museum, the United States Institute of Peace, the White House Visitor Center. So I understand immersive storytelling. And I'm proud to say all these films were edited with Adobe products. So how did we get into VR? How did we find the time to get into VR? Well, in 2015, I tore my meniscus and ACL, and I had to have surgery. So I was home recuperating a couple of days later, and I was totally hopped up on hydrocodone, okay? And I had my credit card. So within 5 minutes, I immediately ordered an Oculus Rift DK2, much to the chagrin of my wife, okay? Needless to say, the next few weeks with VR and hydrocodone was pretty amazing. A few months later, the New York Times released a VR film called The Displaced. And I got to watch it on the Oculus. And I was blown away. And that's when I knew VR was the ultimate immersive storytelling tool. Why did I know this? Well, it felt like I was having the same exact experience of being in a large multi-screen theater or being in a large 360-degree theater. I've edited those experiences before. I've been in those experiences before. And I was having that exact same feeling with a tiny headset. So at that point, I knew we had to start making films for VR. So in early January 2016, we started building our own rigs. We did a ton of research, a ton of testing, did some internal proof of concept projects. We wanted to make sure that we were ready to go to market. And in early March, we were. We had 2 VR rigs, we had a real-time VR edit suite, and most importantly, we had immersive storytelling on our side. So in early April, we approached the Louisville Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we showed them some of our internal proof of concept projects, and they were sold. They recognized the value of telling a story in VR to people that couldn't physically be in Louisville. And they wanted us to tell the culinary story in Louisville. And what this film was going to be about was the farm-to-table approach that's been going on in Louisville, Kentucky for a long, long time. We started shooting in mid-June because we needed healthy green farms. And we finished editing I think it was mid-August. And here's a short clip.
One of my favorite things to do is just cooking with what's around me. In Louisville, we're really lucky we're able to use all these great farmers, and they're going to be the ones feeding the restaurant.
Service.
This isn't a hobby for us. We're all very passionate about it. We want you to sit down, relax, and like have an experience. You hope that somebody sees it in full circle once they experience it. It's inspiring and pushing yourself to stay local and still be delicious.
They are so happy with this film. And what they're doing now is they're going to trade shows across the country. They have VR workstations set up, and they're showing people this film in VR. And the cool thing about it is the people that are viewing this, they're seeing our great culinary scene with their own eyes. Here's another film we finished up after the culinary piece, and this is for the Ole Miss football. Oops, before I go back to that, I'm going to go say our client's so happy, and this is our client's quote. The results and reaction to this piece are nothing short of phenomenal. VR has really helped them, and VR moves the needle. If you can craft a great story in VR, I promise you, you're going to have amazing results on social media, so on and so forth. So after this piece, our next film was a film for the Ole Miss football program. And what they wanted us to do was to get a behind-the-scenes VIP view of game day for either a potential recruit or the Ole Miss superfan. And here's a short clip of that film.
Rise up, this matter's in
our hands.
Whose hands?
Our hands.
Don't forget that. Nothing else you remember about what I said today, it's in your hands. It's in your hands. So it ain't no blame game on nobody else, it's on your hands. We will support you, but you gotta take courage and do it. Keys to victory number 1.
Make no mistake about it. The team that plays the hardest for 60 minutes and makes the fewest mistakes will win.
Hey, it's very difficult to be emotional every single Saturday. I could give a crap about that today. What I do care about is you caring enough to dig deep inside yourself and fight as hard as you can fight for 60 minutes. 60. Tempo, hug the football. Tempo, hug the football. Forward defense.
Pursuit, gang tackle, knock the crap out of them eyes.
You're really close, D. And if I know you like I think I know you, you're ready to chase a bulldog today. And I don't care if he goes into a pit or wherever he goes, we're going to chase him for 60 minutes, and then we're going to celebrate like crazy in here after it's over. You got that? So it's time. The matter's in whose hands? Then rise up. Let's go.
That was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I mean, just check it off the bucket list, having an all-access behind the scenes of an SEC football game. And we learned so much from our first film, the culinary piece, to this film. The culinary piece was more of a cinematic style of storytelling, and this was storytelling as well, but it was more run-and-gun documentary style. We had 5 VR rigs out that full day of game day on a Saturday. And with everything that we learned logistically, data management, quick stitching, we had a final product 4 days later, Wednesday evening, for our client. And once again, it moved the needle. And here's what our client had to say. The 360-degree video produced by Videobred quickly became one of the most shared pieces of content. Since this film, we've done 2 other VR films, and I just want to remind people that these films could not have been possible without the tools from Adobe and Metal. I still want to remind people it honestly comes down to crafting a great story. Great content has a great story. Over 30 plus years in this industry, so much has changed, but you still have a camera, you still have a microphone, and you still have a story. And in order to stand out, you got to craft a great story. So how can you produce successful VR content? Here are some things that we've learned. A lot of it's just simple principles, a lot of it's sort of our philosophy, but we have felt this has really helped us out so much. Story is king. If you have a great story, you have the foundation to craft a great VR experience. And when you can place people into a great immersive story, I think that's when VR is the most effective. Extraordinary experiences. When you can place someone with a unique experience or unique location and tell a great story, it's a win-win. And I think that's why Game Day has done so well on the social media front and the awards front. Now, this next one has taken me a long time in my 30 plus years, and it's especially true in VR. And it's okay to say no. It is okay to say no. We've actually turned down VR jobs because we felt the story didn't lend itself to VR. We don't want to use a new medium just because it's new. Some stories are just told better flat. We don't want to cheapen VR. We don't want VR to become gimmicky. Great VR content rises all of us. And so there's literally a time and a place to use VR. Pre-production. Pre-production is important in any production. It's really important in VR 360. We have location scouted almost all of our shoots with the Ricoh Theta. It's been invaluable. We'll go out to locations and we'll shoot 360-degree stills. Then we'll go back to the shop and we'll study those in VR. And we'll know immediately what's going to work, what's not going to work, or what could work with some post magic. In our culinary piece, we blocked out 90% of that film with a rough cut based off location skills from the Theta S. It just makes the production process go by so much faster because that's when you're really burning money. And the ability to go to location, know your exact camera position, your exact camera height, your lighting conditions, talent blocking, so on and so forth, is very invaluable. Audio. We build our soundtrack and sound design first. We then build a visual rough cut based off those pre-production 360-degree stills. I know it's not like an old man saying this, but it sounds like audio is like overthought these days. I mean, people it's an afterthought. Audio is such an important tool in storytelling, and especially in immersive storytelling. To me, sometimes a shot just needs to breathe. It needs to sit there for a second. So we always start with audio, always. VR rigs. Which rig did you use is a question we get asked frequently. And We're not shooting volumetric yet, and that will all change, I'm sure, when we start shooting volumetric. But right now, we view our different VR rigs like different lens types. So our 2-camera rig is great for really tight and close places, while our 6-camera 9.5K rig is really awesome for wide scenic shots. And our in-between camera right now, which is our go-to camera, and it's a workhorse, and it's really knocking the door at both of these cameras, just because of the build quality, is the Zcam S1. The Zcam S1 is an amazing camera. It's rock solid. The folks at Imagine Vision have really listened to the VR professional and delivered something that's truly special. They're releasing firmware updates like every other week, software all the time. They have an iPad app where you can stream what you're viewing with the VR camera. I cannot talk enough about the Zcam, and it's an amazing camera. But what if you don't have, $3,000 to $6,000 to get into this, and you want to get your feet wet in the foundational level of VR? There's great cameras out there for that. And I think right now is a really good time to understand the foundational level of VR. The new Gear 360 is great. The Odor Kodak PixPro 4K 360, we have one of those, we use it. And I'm hearing great things about the Kodak Orbit 360, they're right over there. These are great cameras, get your feet wet, start understanding the foundation, the production, and the post-production workflow of VR. Post. If you're going to get into VR, you have to use metal tools. Metal and Adobe, they're the tools if you're going to use VR. And full disclosure, Metal hasn't paid me to be here today. Metal hasn't flown me in. They haven't set up a room for me. I'm hoping they will buy me drinks later this week. But if you're going to finish work and finalize work, you have to have Adobe and Metal tools. And with Adobe and Metal tools, anything you dream of in the 360 VR environment, you can do. In our first piece, the culinary piece, our second shot, clouds came in, and it looked absolutely terrible. And with Adobe and Metal tools, we were able to take this shot and change it to this. So here it is again, before. And here it is after. And I'm pretty sure we were the first people to do sky replacement in VR, which is really exciting, okay? With Metal, motion graphics, super easy with motion graphics. And this is all before Skybox V2 came out, okay? So adding motion graphics is really easy in VR with Metal tools. We added these motion graphics, we blended these restaurants in together. And then Skybox Composer V2 came out, and it was a game changer. You can stabilize, you can motion track in space. Let's say you need to get rid of a rig. Let's say you have a simple rig you need to get rid of. Well, with Skybox V2, you can do all of that within After Effects, and it's fast. It's simple. Let's say if it's a more complex rig, we just finished a distillery piece where we had a speed rail, and we had camera movement on a speed rail. Well, once again, Skybox Composer V2, and I actually have a tutorial on Metal on how we did this. You're welcome to watch it. So Metal tools have to be a part of your post workflow, and a lot of people have asked, what is your post workflow? And here's what it looks like. Right now, you still have to quick stitch everything. A few years down the road, I don't think we'll have to do that anymore. You guys have heard our production process, our pre-production process. So you eventually have to go out and shoot this stuff, right? So we'll shoot it with our different rigs, and then we'll immediately go to Auto Panel Video Pro. And it's a great product. You're going to need a honking PC with a great GPU. But we'll go and we'll shoot that footage, and we'll do a quick stitch. And then we'll go into Premiere and Metal tools, and we'll replace all of that 360 still stuff with our new live action quick stitch footage. We'll fine tune our rough cut, fine tune our soundtrack design, and then we'll send it off to the client for a rough cut approval. As soon as we get the thumbs up on the rough cut approval, we go back to Auto Panel Video Pro and we'll quick stitch all the approved 360 degree footage, okay? Once we've done that, we'll go back to Premiere and Metal tools, and we'll replace all of our quick stitch stuff with our fine stitch stuff. We then send everything via the magic of dynamic link down to After Effects and Metal. And this is my favorite part of the process. I'm an old After Effects guy, love After Effects. So this is where we do our color correction, our rig removal, our typography and graphics. And I was telling you guys earlier, we have 2 camera rigs, we have 4 camera rigs, 6 camera rigs. Metal makes one of the best sharpened plugins out there to match those 2 camera rigs to your 4 and 6 camera rigs. And I've been using After Effects for a long time. It's one of the best sharpened plugins ever to help mix and match all this footage. So after that point, we'll do our final video render, and then we'll go back to Premiere and Metal. And this is where we do our final audio sweetening. If we need to add an intro or an outro graphic, we'll use Metal tools to do that. If we need to add some graphic overlays, we'll use Metal tools for that. Then at that point, we'll export our final media. Then at that point, we go into encoder and we'll compress for all devices and services. It's Facebook, YouTube, Gear VR, Little Star, Veer TV, Oculus 5. If there's a format that needs to be compressed to VR, encoder will do it. Then at that point, we're delivering. So this is sort of our workflow right now. I mean, it's sort of changed, it's matured over time. And as new software, new plugins come out, this has been very successful for us. I know there's still some naysayers out there right now. Why VR? Why should I learn something new again? Why should I learn something new again? I sort of see, and I know this sounds crazy, I sort of see this industry as like being a doctor. Would you want to have heart surgery from a doctor that got his or her degree in 1991 and has never kept up with technology or any kind of medical advances? No, because it probably looked like that, I mean, it could look like me later tonight, but no. In order to stay in business and to be relevant, you have to stay up to date with technology. You have to. If you can't, eventually you will become irrelevant. And I see VR like the start of the computing industry or the start of the internet. You remember the naysayers of the internet? Why would I ever stream a movie off the internet? I've only got a 56K modem. Why would I ever watch a basketball game or a football game off the internet, Why would I ever buy a book off the internet? Why would I ever buy a bumper for an FJ Cruiser off the internet? Why would I send an email when I can send a perfectly good letter? You see what happened with that. And VR is being used right now in a lot of categories that really excite me. It's being used for mental health. We're helping soldiers deal with post-traumatic stress syndrome with VR. We're helping seniors that are immobile, that are in nursing homes, watching a sunset over a beach. It's being used in medicine. It's helping treat pain management for pediatric cancer patients. It's being used in training. Caterpillar right now, they're training their people on this heavy machinery with VR. It's being used in education. Look at a child's eyes after they've taken the headset off, after experiencing the Apollo 11 mission. Look at the imagination in their eyes. And it's such a great learning tool. Entertainment, sports. Right now on Gear VR, you can watch a live NBA game every week, stream live to your headset in 3D VR, courtside view. It's a paradigm shift. So why should you get into VR now? Things are changing and they're going to change quickly. And you just wait till we all get our volumetric cameras that have 6 degrees of freedom. Wait until vestibular audio is a standard. And wait till you can feel the wind on your face when you're flying. Things are going to, and they're going to change quickly. If you don't have a great foundational understanding of VR, you're going to be left behind. And I don't know if you guys have heard all the announcements Metal's had in the last few weeks. They're leading the way. And thank you. I hope this presentation's helped your knowledge. And if you have any questions, I'll answer those now.